Let's make our way to standing. And as always, feel free to grab a wall or anything during practice. As you need a little extra support, there's always the blocks or the blankets back there too. So starting standing, feel free to take a moment just to ground your feet. If you're comfortable closing eyes, let's just close eyes. And take a moment to just pause, find your breath. Check in this morning, notice how you're feeling physically, notice how you're feeling mentally. Just taking that pause. And as always, a reminder as we go through class today to make this class your own. Feel free to hold things longer or to take a break, move a little faster, whatever your body needs today. Just making sure that we're honoring and respecting our body's needs and supporting our body where it needs support. From here, let's take a little side-to-side rock. So depending on how comfortable you are with your eyes closed, if you'd rather open your eyes, you absolutely can. And we're just going to shift over to one foot, find middle, shift over to the other foot, and find middle. So at your own pace, just tune in to sensations as you load one side, and then as you swap and load the other side. And then pausing in middle ground. So just finding that equal balance position between both feet. Now we're going to rock a little forward and back. So again, check in if your eyes are closed, make sure you feel stable with this. We're going to just shift our balance towards your heels a little bit. And that's hard to do with your eyes closed. I don't know if anybody else is noticing that. And then back to middle. And then shift towards the front part of your feet. So it's a very small shift that we're doing, just kind of orienting our body in space. A little to the back, a little to the front, and then finding middle position. It's kind of like we're calibrating our body in this upright right position. And then if eyes are still closed, let's open them here. We can take a couple shoulder shrugs all the way up to the ears, rolling them back and down. Notice how those neck muscles are feeling this morning. And then just letting them settle in that down position. And then let's take chin to chest. And just hanging the head here. Notice any stretching sensations in the back of the neck. And then slowly rolling the head back to its upright position on the body. And let's take an inhale, reaching the arms up overhead. Checking in with those shoulders. And then exhale, we're just going to bend the knees and swan dive forward towards the floor or blocks here. So feel free if you'd like to have any blocks to support the hands to take a moment and grab those. Let the head relax. Let the neck relax. And then from this forward bent position, let's take a halfway lift. So inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, forward fold. And then we're going to bend the knees a little deeper here as we rise to a chair position. So just finding a little flowy movement into chair, reaching the tailbone back as the fingertips reach forward if the arms are reaching. And then all the way to standing. Good. And let's swan dive forward again. So same thing, just kind of flowing forward. Find a relaxation through the neck and spine. A little tightening of those belly muscles. And then inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bending through the knees, we'll find that chair position again. Reaching tailbone, one direction. And the fingertips in the other direction. And all the way to standing. From here, let's shimmy the feet together. And then we can take a little side bend towards your right. So taking a little bend over, you can interlace the arms if that feels better. And back to center, over to the other side. And back to center, and let's fold forward. From here, a halfway lift. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale for a fold. And then let's go ahead and step back to down dog, one leg at a time. So finding your down dog, take a moment to stretch the heels towards the floor, any amount. Nice wide hand position here. So we're distributing the pressure throughout the hands. An inhale and an exhale. And now let's lower the knees towards the ground. And then from here, moving into a little bit of our cat and cow. So on the inhale, dropping the navel. On the exhale, rounding the spine. And we're still finding a little bit of belly tightening here, especially on the inhale part, where we kind of round that spine downward. And then let's take knees wide and we can shift into a child's pose, reaching the hips back and the arms forward any amount. Taking a few deep breaths here. Expanding out the back part of the rib cage as the belly also moves outward on the inhale. And on the exhale, everything goes the other direction. Notice any shoulder stretching, notice any low back, hip, knee. Just kind of taking this opportunity as we're breathing to notice the body and to check in. And then rocking forward, let's find hands and knees again. We can move into our opposite arm and leg. So taking that left leg and reaching it back far as you want to, and adding that right arm. Strong through your supporting knee and hip, and strong through your supporting arm. And then arm and leg in, and other side. Right leg, left arm. And back in. Let's take left leg, right arm again. And then we're going to take that right arm down, keep the left leg lifted, and we'll swivel that left leg around to the side. We can place the foot down so the toes are facing front, and then just do a little forward back rock here, a little shifting of the hips, finding that lovely inner thigh stretch on the left, and maybe some other areas. And then from here, we're going to walk our hands over to the right. And if you have a block hand, you can sure grab that. And we'll take our little gate pose stretch. So right hand to block, left arm up and over, taking that stretch any amount, drawing the hips forward as you're able. And then we'll come up and lean over towards that left leg. So left arm down, right arm lifts. And then back to center. Then from here, planting the hands, we'll take a leg lift with that left leg lifting, and then bring that leg out and behind you and draw it on in. Now we'll take right leg, left arm for a moment. And then we can lower the left arm, and we'll draw that right leg around to the side. So the toes are ending up facing the front edge of the mat. And then we take that just gentle back and forth move here with the hips, kind of flossing at the hip a little bit and getting that nice inner thigh stretch on the right, and maybe some other areas. Lengthening through the spine. And then we can walk our hands over towards the left. And if you have that block handy and you want to use it under your left arm, you can. And then we're leaning over towards the left. Drawing the hips forward again. And then let's come back upright, leaning over towards the right. Left arm lifts. And then back down and planting both hands. We can lift that right leg and draw it around behind us. And then let's take that right leg back in and tucking toes, we can find our down dog again. And just take a breath in here on the exhale, let the heels sink. And now walking the feet towards the hands, bending the knees as you get closer, and let's rise to stand. Inhale, reaching the arms. Exhale, arms to heart center. And just take a pause here, closing your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Let the neck, the shoulders relax. Notice your posture, upright posture, engaging your deep abdominal muscles. Feeling grounded through both feet. And then if eyes are closed, we can open them. And we'll root through that right leg. Let's take a moment of tree pose here. So we can either take left leg to block or to shin. Finding length through the spine. And then from this tree pose, let's interlace the arms. And then we're going to turn the palms outward and then just reach the arms forward. So just a little forearm stretch for those of us that are a little tight in that forearm. The underside of the forearm, and then lifting the arms up tall here. If we're having any pinching in the shoulders, we can certainly release the arms here and have them apart. And now reaching the arms, separating them out to the sides. We'll step that left leg back to find our lunge position. Taking the arms out to the sides. So the back heel can be lifted, and we're lining up front foot, back foot. So once we have our balance here, then tightening belly muscles, we can take a gentle twist towards the right. And back to center, arms to heart center. Let's shift forward onto that right leg. We can step that left leg in. We'll take an inhale, overhead reach. Exhale, folding forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bending the knees, let's rise to stand. I just realized I was going to get music going. I totally forgot. Sorry, guys. Next time. Rooting through your left leg, we'll take that right leg and lift it to find tree, or putting right foot to block. And then from here, we can interlace the arms and press the palms outward. Again, finding any stretch in the forearm, elbow area, maybe other areas. And then slowly lift the arms up. And then we're taking the arms out to the sides, feeling those shoulders draw away from the ears. And then we're stepping that right leg back to find our high lunge. Taking a moment to plant that back foot and adjust forward or back as you need to. And then once we have our balance here, we can take a twist to the left. And back to center, arms to heart center. We'll step that right leg in to meet the left leg. Nice work. Inhale, overhead lift. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Stepping back to down dog, one leg at a time. We're going to shift into a plank from here. So you can certainly come down to hands and knees if you'd like to, or shift straight forward into plank. Either way, so we can take kneeling plank or knees lifted plank. And then either with knees lifted or knees down, we'll lower to belly. And from belly, we can take our cobra here. So inhale, upper body lifts, finding an opening across the chest, feeling the shoulder blades draw together and downward, and keeping the chin slightly tucked. And back down. Let's try one more like that. Inhale, lift. Exhale, back down. And now from belly, taking our goalpost arm position so we can have our elbows slightly bent, tucking the chin, drawing those shoulder blades together and downward, strong through the legs. And then feel free to lower and rest the forehead on your fists. So you can kind of tuck the fists underneath the forehead here. Bending at the knees, let's take a little side to side knee rock. Kind of windshield wiper movement. And then from here, we're going to take our butterfly position, but on our stomach. So it may not work very well in terms of getting the feet to the floor, right? So it's a little bit of a reverse butterfly. But with your feet together and your knees out, I sometimes call this a frog position. I don't know why. I'm trying to think of a frog now, but anyway, I call it frog. And so frog position, not butterfly. Once you're here, try to engage the glute muscles without tensing the hamstrings, the back of thigh area. So you're going to try and engage your rear muscles and keep the hamstring part, the back of the thigh part, as relaxed as you can. Now they're going to engage a little bit, but see if you can feel and isolate the glute muscles. And that's kind of tough. And once you've tried that a little, then go ahead and relax them. We'll try one more time. So just engaging glute muscles without those hamstrings kicking in as much. You may feel this in the front of the hips too, depending on how tight things are. And then relax. Good, so let's come out of frog position and taking arms on either side. We're gonna press back up, finding our down dog eventually. You can come through hands and knees or go straight through plank to down dog. Eventually we'll all meet in that down dog position. Inhale, exhale, and let the heels sink, finding that calf stretch. And then let's walk the feet towards the hands, bending through the knees, rising to stand. Inhale, lift. Exhale, arms to heart center. Take a pause here again, checking in. Let the head, neck, and shoulders relax. Just mixing all sorts of things up today, facing a different way in the room, doing tree pose early on. Resilience is good, change is good. So we're embracing it. So from here, let's go ahead, if eyes are closed, open eyes, and we'll root through the right leg. Let's go ahead and take our tree pose with that left leg. So finding tree pose here again, either foot to block, again, always that option to rest the foot on a block. From tree pose, we're just going to take the more traditional tree arms. So taking the arms, reaching them up. And then arms to heart center. We're going to step that left leg back to our high lunge. So reaching the left leg back, planting the leg, and taking a moment to adjust your foot length here if you need it closer or further away, that back leg. And then from here, let's go ahead and reach down towards the ground, planting that left arm, and we can take a twist, lifting the right arm. Always the option to take that back knee down if you prefer. And then we're untwisting. And we're going to step that back leg in to meet the front leg, taking a halfway lift. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Bend the knees. Let's rise to stand. And arms to heart center, letting the shoulders sink away from the ears. Rooting through your left leg. Let's take that right leg up to tree of choice, either to block or shin. And then as you would like to, adding the arms. And then arms to heart center. We'll step that right leg back to high lunge. Finding that balance. And then we'll reach down towards the floor. Right arm can plant. And then we'll take a twist with that left arm. Option to take the back knee down. And then we're untwisting. Planting both hands. So we'll give a good push off that right leg to step it in. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bending the knees, let's rise to stand. Taking a nice slowing of the arms and back to heart center. Breath in, breath out. Notice upright posture. And now rooting through the right leg, let's step that left leg back to find our warrior one. So back heel can come down, toes are out. And then just taking those more traditional warrior one arms here. Finding your breath, settling into this position. And then from warrior one, let's take a humble warrior. So this one, you have the option to keep the arms forward or to take the arms down by your sides. We're gonna shift that upper body forward, pressing into that back leg. So if you're taking care of any low back issues, it probably feels better to have arms by your sides, pressing strongly into that back leg. As you shift the upper body forward, finding that nice long line. And now let's release the arms back overhead and back to warrior one. Breath in and breath out. Now opening up to warrior two. So we'll swivel towards the left. And then that right knee is bent. And the left knee is straight. There we go. So right toes are kind of pointing towards the corner of your mat. Left toes are pointing towards the long edge of the mat. Good, letting the shoulders sink away from the ears here. And now let's reverse the warrior, left arm down. And back through warrior two. Now into our side angle. So right elbow towards thigh, left arm up and over. And back up, warrior two. Let's straighten that right knee. And if you feel like you want to wiggle your feet a hair closer for triangle, you can do that. But turning palms up, we'll shift the upper body to the right and then down into triangle. And now let's bend that right knee back up to warrior two. Arms to heart center. We'll lift the left heel and pivot on around to face the front here. This front, there you go. And then we're reaching down towards blocks or floor. And we can take the back knee down and just find our hip stretch here. So just shifting the hips forward. We can use those blocks if you'd like to. If you find that your knee is way in front of your foot, then give your foot a little cue to come forward a little bit. And then just slowly, softly working into this stretch, finding length through your spine and openness across the chest. Your breath, using that exhale just to direct relaxation in the areas that you're feeling tension and stress with this position. And when I first started yoga, I would have said like everything in this position. So if you're feeling more than one area, it's okay. And then we can take both arms on the inside of that right leg and then just let that right knee fall out any amount for a little added hip stretch. And then we're drawing that knee back towards midline. We can take the right arm on the outside of that right leg and then just shift our way back, straightening up the front knee and any amount. And then we're finding that hamstring stretch on the back part of that right leg. This is another place where the blocks sometimes can come in handy. Again, we're working length through the spine here. So trying to come out of our rounded position. And then let's bend that right knee, taking the foot close towards us. And we're gonna lean into our hands, tuck the back toe, and just step that back leg in to meet the front leg. Awesome, take a moment just to hang here. Breath in, breath out. And then soft through the knees, and we can power through the feet and legs to stand. Inhale, and exhale, arms to heart center. Take a pause here, just tune into right leg versus left leg. Notice sensations coming from each side, because hopefully you can notice that there's a difference. One should feel, well, hopefully, a little bit different than the other. And we'll work to make that a little more symmetrical now. So rooting through your left leg, let's step that right leg back to warrior one. So we'll find warrior one here. Breath in, breath out. And from our warrior one, we'll have the option to move into that humble warrior. So this is the one you can leave your arms forward if you want to keep them forward as your shift, or take them down by your sides. So pinkies towards hips if you're taking that option, pressing strongly into your right foot as you lean forward, finding humble warrior. And then releasing the arms back up to warrior one. And then from here, we're going to swivel open towards your right to find warrior two. So your left knee will end up bent and your right knee will end up straight. Letting the shoulders sink away from the ears. And then we'll reverse the warrior. So the right arm comes down, left arm lifts. And back through warrior two. Now shifting into side angle. So left elbow towards thigh, right arm up and over. Finding that rotation through the rib cage. And then back up, warrior two. We can straighten that left knee. And then again, shimmy the feet a hair closer together if you'd like to. Palms turn up, shift left and down for triangle. And then we're re-bending the left knee. Back up, warrior two. Arms to heart center. Picking up that right heel. Let's pivot on around to face the front. And then we're reaching down towards the mat here. And we can take that back knee down, finding that hip stretch. So initially just sinking the hips forward any amount, using those blocks as you'd like to. Finding length through the spine and openness from shoulder to shoulder, across the chest. And then really tapping into our breathing here. So allowing our breath to work with our nervous system and our body as we stretch. Keeping things in a safe range and really just noticing what we're feeling. And it may be different on this side compared to the other side. And now option to stay here, or if you want to take that left arm on the inside of the left knee, feel free. And then just let that left knee fall out any amount here. And then we're drawing the knee back to middle, left arm on the outer part of that left knee. And then just shift your way back slightly. And you can take the blocks with you as you'd like to, straightening up that left leg. We can pull the toes up and take a moment to stretch the back part of that left thigh. And feel free, if we're having any sciatic type symptoms down the back of the leg, you can always keep that left knee slightly bent. We can always kind of let the foot rest downward too. And then we're bending that left knee, bringing the foot in a little bit closer towards us. And then from here, tuck that back toe. We can step the right leg in to meet the left leg and take a moment to hang. Let the hamstrings stretch, the neck relax. And breathe. And then from here, let's just slowly roll on up, nice and slow, one vertebrae at a time, making the head the last thing to lift. And then maybe a couple shoulder shrugs once you're here. Let everything kind of settle. And now taking arms to heart center. Rooting through your right leg, we're going to step the left leg back just a short distance. to find our pyramid stretch. So shifting upper body forward and down that front leg. You can walk towards blocks or mat here. And then finding a soft bend in that front knee, let's shift our hands or blocks forward slightly. We can find a supported warrior 3 here. And as always, if you'd like to make this unsupported, you can slowly raise your upper body and your arms, or keep that support either way. And then wherever we're at, we're drawing that left leg in to meet the right leg. Take a moment to bring both feet securely underneath you, and we're rising to stand. Inhale, take a stretch upward. Exhale, arms to heart center, and we're stepping the right leg back a short distance and making our way into pyramid on this side. So finding your block supports or the mat. And then from here, finding a soft bend in that left knee, walking the hands forward on the blocks or the mat, and then taking that warrior 3 on this side, supported, or again, if you want to rise to an unsupported warrior 3, totally fine. And now slowly drawing that right leg in to meet the left leg. Grounding both feet, take a moment to bend the knees and ankles and hips. And then as we're ready, we can power up to stand. Inhale, overhead reach. Exhale, arms to heart center. Just pausing here, closing eyes if you're comfortable with that. Take a breath in, take a breath out. Notice your whole body. Maybe even take a moment to step outside your body for a moment. And by that, I mean, visualize yourself on your mat. Tall posture, muscles relaxed, yet supportive. And now let's open eyes, and we're gonna fold forward. Stepping back to our down dog, one leg at a time. Take a moment just to breathe here. And then we can slowly lower our knees towards the ground. We're going to take another child's pose here. So heels together, knees wide, reaching the hips back, taking the breaths in and out. If you noticed some tightness earlier in this child's pose when you were breathing, kind of tune in again, see if it feels different. I feel a lot less tension in my ribcage area as I'm breathing now than I did at that first child's pose. And maybe you notice differences in your shoulders or back or ribcage area too. And then we're going to rise forward to find hands and knees and make our way onto our back. I want to do a little hip flexor release routine today. So we'll find our way to our back and initially start with that left leg out straight and the right knee bent. So with this, the left toes are going to be angled up towards the ceiling. We're tightening belly muscles. We're going to take a slow motion leg lift here. So up and down just 4 to 6 inches with that left leg and the knee locked completely straight. So we're moving, and just to give you an idea of tempo here, we're moving up and we're moving down. You know, it's almost painfully slow, hopefully not painfully. It's slower than a lot of us like to go. And as we're working hard to slow this movement, just tune into sensations, tune into what you're feeling, the areas that you're feeling. Maybe it's that inner left thigh. Maybe it's the hip flexor, the front of that left hip. I know some of you have done this little routine before with me, and hopefully your legs will feel, your hips will feel like jello in a good way when we're done. Let's go maybe one more. As always, take the opportunity to rest if you need a rest here. And now keeping that left leg hovering, let's turn the toes out like 30 degrees so the whole hip turns out just a little bit. Then we're gonna slide the leg parallel to the floor, out a few inches and back in a few inches. So we're talking maybe like 6 inches. So it's a pretty small movement again, out to the side with that leg hovering and back in. Working to keep the pelvis and the low back real still here. And it's those belly muscles, the core muscles that are engaging to help us with that. You may start to feel a little burning sensation in the front of that left hip. That's all very normal. Again, just reminding yourself that you are in control here, so you absolutely can take breaks as you need to. Let's try a couple more like that. And then still with that leg hovering, let's turn the toes so they're facing the ceiling again. And we're gonna slide the heel up towards the rear and then back out, just like we're bending the knee and straightening the knee. And this too is a nice slow movement. We're really working on that slow motion control, which tends to fatigue things a little bit quicker. We'll take a couple more of these. And then bending that left leg, let's plant the foot and we'll take the right leg out straight. So now the right leg starts with that straight leg raise with the toes towards the ceiling. And we're just with that knee straight, we're taking a nice leg lift up and down, just 4 to 6 inches. Moving nice and slow, feeling the belly muscles tighten to control the pelvis and that low back. I'm still feeling my left leg. How about you guys? My brain needed a reminder to do the shift. It was still kind of focusing on lefty. Now righty's starting to come into the picture a little bit more. Let's try one more maybe. And then we'll turn the toes out slightly. So we take that whole leg, rotate it out a few degrees, and then we're gonna slide parallel to the floor, a few inches out and a few inches back in. Pretty small movement here, working that control. Knee is straight, belly is engaged. Notice if the neck muscles started tensing up as you get a little bit fatigued. Just giving the reminder to the shoulder and neck area, the jaw, the facial muscles that they don't need to necessarily be tense here. We can go a couple more if we choose. And then turning the toes so they're facing the ceiling. We're sliding the heel up towards the rear and back out. So we're bending that knee up and straightening it straight back out. Keeping it mostly parallel towards the floor in terms of that heel movement. Maybe a couple more of these. And then we can find our butterfly position. So feet together, knees wide. And just let gravity do the stretch here. So for the stretch, we're going to hold this at least a minute, maybe two. And so it's a great place to tune into our diaphragmatic breathing, feeling the rise and fall of the belly, working on full body relaxation, just letting gravity do the stretch. The challenge with some of these slower movements is just to be really fully present. So easy to let our mind kind of wander off and start planning lists or activities. But instead, calling our mind gently back to present moment awareness, noticing, feeling, observing. We'll stay about 5 more seconds here, and then we're going to lift the knees about 4 inches. So from here, just go ahead and lift the knees a few inches. And now we're hovering those knees in space. So the feet are still where they're at. We don't have to lift them, but now we have to work a little bit to hold the knees here in this position. And we're going to hold this 60 seconds. And again, as a reminder, feel free to take a break if your body is telling you it needs a break. You may start to feel some shaking in the knees and the legs. That's all very normal. Many of us hold a lot of tension in our deep psoas. That's our deep hip flexor muscle that we're working on a little bit with this routine. And if we're prone to any low back pain, this muscle can be a little bit of a bugger. So it's a nice one to address from time to time. And now let's go ahead and lift the knees another 2 or 3 inches. So we're still having to work a little bit here in those inner thighs. Again, we may be feeling that shakiness. You want your knees maybe about 45 degrees here. So halfway between straight up and straight out, give or take. And then we're gonna bring the knees just off from center. So we're at the position where you really wanna just bring them all the way together, but they're just outside of that range. Enough to kind of make you have to work and shake a little bit. About 10 more seconds here. And then let's draw the knees together, straighten out the legs, maybe even reach the arms behind you, like somebody's pulling on your legs and somebody's pulling on your arms here, stretching you in opposite directions. Should feel quite nice, hopefully, in the hip area after that. And then from here, let's hug the right knee in towards the chest, pressing that left side downwards. We're going to take a moment to elongate that left hip area. And now we can add a bit of a spinal twist, a little rotation. So drawing that right knee towards the left shoulder. You can go part way and feel the outer glute stretch in that right rear, or if you want to go that full twist and open out the right hand, feel free. So just take any one of those twist options. That sounds like it would feel good today, or feels like it would be a good option. And then back to center. Let's swap legs. So left knee to chest, right leg pressing down straight. So we're going to take that moment to really press the right side down. Pausing for a few seconds here as you're doing that. And then adding the twist of choice. So left knee towards right shoulder. If you want to pause and feel that left glute stretch, you can stay there or take that twist all the way over. And now drawing your knees back in. Let's hug both knees in for a moment, little side to side rock. And then we can plant our feet with our knees bent and knees and feet hip distance apart. Taking arms out to the sides here, just let the knees fall towards the left. And with the knees falling left, bring your attention to the right knee and just kind of wiggle that knee up and down a little bit, just a hair. Notice how maybe you can feel that right abdominal area or outer hip, outer side area stretch a little bit. When that knee is kind of pushing downward, you can release the stretch a little by bringing the knee up a hair. Unless you're just super tight, then it's just going to feel like a lovely stretch either way. And then back to middle, over to the other side. And we're letting our hips, our pelvis kind of shift so that left side is lifted here of the pelvis. And then with that left knee, if you're pushing it down towards the ground, you may notice a little more of that stretch on the outer left side. You can kind of push down or release a few times there just to explore that. Now, if you're limited because of hip mobility, then that's going to be a different issue and you won't be able to get the full stretch perhaps. In that case, you'll just feel it more in the hip versus the outer side. And now bringing the legs back towards the middle. Feel free to take any other stretches now that your body is just craving to do. Maybe it's a figure four. Maybe it's just hanging the feet up in the air for a moment, wiggling the ankles up and down, or taking a one-legged hamstring stretch, followed by the other leg. Just take that opportunity to put your whole body back together again with a final stretch. Connecting head to toe with movement and awareness. And then as you're ready, just finding a position where you can give yourself permission to be still for a moment, knees bent or straight. Or if you prefer to be on a side, that's totally fine too. And bring your awareness back to your breath, the rise and fall of your belly, the sensation of the air as it enters your deep nasal passages and as it exits through your nose or mouth. Moving now from your breath to your whole body. And just like we did at the beginning when we were standing, just take a moment to step outside of yourself and visualize yourself on the mat. Taking a look at your whole body, head to toe, connecting the parts, and finding that sense of gratitude, that sense of control, and that sense of peace and relaxation. It's so healthy for our brains to just take that step back and look at the big picture, whether that's because of a joint that's hurting, or an area of pain, or an area of tension. Maybe using that as a metaphor, maybe it's an area in our life that's just occupying more space than it needs to, and taking that step back and looking at that big picture. And really, we can apply that to our opportunities for change this morning too. I was looking forward to this morning's class, just to mix it up, facing a different direction, trying out the Zoom, taking some slower movements with our hip flexor routine, just embracing what we can find out of taking a big picture view. And this is where we'll close out our class this morning. And so I invite you, just after we close out our class, just to take your time, give yourself a moment before rising, and make sure your head is clear. But thank you all so much for joining me this morning. Namaste.